Good evening, Doc Severson here for the Theo Night Report for Thursday, April 5th. I'm cutting this report about half an hour before the closing bell of the market today, but it looks like we've picked our trend for the day. And so far it's been consolidation and then finally in the last hour back up to the upside. All right, I want to take you back to what I was talking about on Tuesday. So what I've got is a 4-pane panel of the S&P 500 futures. And the reason why I've gone to a 4-pane panel is because at different time frames we're showing different trends. Still on the monthly chart, we're still showing an uptrend. This is still an uptrend. We haven't even pulled back all that much. On the weekly chart, we are showing potentially a downtrend, although it's not confirmed yet because we've not put in a lower low to go along with this lower high. And on the daily chart, we've had all kinds of trends here. We've had downtrends, we've had uptrends, we've had another downtrend again. And so the question is, where is this thing going? Is this going lower? Is this going higher for now? Well, we can't look out more than maybe a month or so, but what we can do is kind of frame in the price action. That's what I talked about on Tuesday, is how we were going to look for what's happening here. And so until that point on Tuesday, we'd be making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and that was on Monday. All right, so what we showed on Tuesday is we popped up here to another lower high, and then we put in a higher low. We put in a higher low here, and then we broke above the trend line, making actually a new higher high as well too. So we have confirmed a change in polarity on the 78-minute chart. Now the 78-minute chart I use because it's 5 times faster than the daily chart, at least for the cash session. So the point here is that reversals propagate. They start from the inside or the smaller time frames, and they propagate up in time. So we still have a daily downtrend. There's still a daily downtrend. If we zoom in here, we can still see that the daily chart is putting in lower highs and lower lows. Now, this will start to change if the price gets above this recent high at about 2680 or so. About 2680 is the recent pivot on the ES. So if we break that level, then that will be the first step towards changing the polarity on the daily chart. Because what will have to happen is some combination of higher high and then higher low. Now, that brings up that higher low. Now, I've gone back over all of these recovery trends that we've gone through, corrections over the years, over the past 20 years or so. And what always happens is the scary higher low shows up. The price starts to rally off the bottom. Everybody eases back. Everybody gets complacent. And then all of a sudden, one more piece of bad news comes along. It's usually a flood of it will come along. And all of a sudden, we start to drop again. And then everybody that made it through the bear flag and made it through the retest of the lows and made it through the rebound up and got false sense of optimism, all of a sudden says, I can't take it one more time. I might as well sell out now while I still have some gains in place. And so this is why maximum negativity builds up right at this point on the higher low. And normally, this is what creates, and again, I say normally, I'm not trying to predict the future or look into a crystal ball, but normally what we do is we see a higher low set up here, and that begins the uptrend from here, based on all of this negativity being squeezed out of the market. So I know what you're thinking. Could we have one more test of the bottom? Could we have an undercut of the bottom? Absolutely we could. Absolutely we could. But if the price starts to raise above the recent highs, then it makes the probability of that a lot smaller. So if we do actually come up here and print a higher high, then actually for the price to come all the way back down and print a lower low is a much lower probability. Right now what we're seeing is attempts by the market to hammer out a bottom and start to rally off of here. All the bad news has already been put into the market. It's already discounted. The market is starting to shrug it off and starting to look at earnings starting next week. Now, on a larger time frame picture, what we're seeing is just a building, the building of just a big pennant type of consolidation pattern in here. Big pennant type of consolidation pattern. And normally these last for a few months, especially when we've gone into exhaustion on the monthly chart. Okay, so let me step back and summarize for a second here. What we've seen over the past couple of days here is the break in this descending trend line. So we've had a break in the descending trend line on the 78-minute chart. That by itself doesn't really mean all that much, but it does start to show that we've had a reversal at the 78-minute chart. What's going to have to happen on the daily chart to show a daily chart reversal is one of two things. Either a higher low is printed now, so we drop down from these prices perhaps tomorrow, maybe early next week, and then put in that scary higher low, or maybe even keep on going. That could certainly happen, although right now that's less of a possibility. But for the uptrend to prosper at this point, a higher low and a higher high has to be put in. And what that will start is a weekly swing back up to the upside. A weekly swing back up to the upside. The chart's not out of the woods yet. The chart is not out of the woods yet. We could have one final swing back down again. So if we rally back up, everybody's going to, and this is what happens during corrective markets, is that every time we rally, everybody wipes their brow and says, okay, we've survived that. That's over with. That's in the rearview mirror. And all of a sudden, the bad news hits the tape again. And notice how the bad news is hitting the tape now versus what it would do last year. Last year, bad news would hit the tape. People would shrug and buy. Now, when the bad news is coming, people are like, oh no, trade war, let's sell. And the very fact that the market is more held hostage to the news cycle is exactly what happens during a corrective market. Now, again, looking a little bit further forward from here, from this big corrective pattern that we have, one of two things is going to happen. Either we recover into quiet and trending again, or we start to actually work down from here. And if you want examples of what that looks like, all you got to do is look back here to 07 and 08. That's probably the best example that we can come up with of a market transitioning from sideways and volatile into volatile and trending. Even the 2015-2016 correction didn't escape from sideways and volatile. That's as bad as it got, and that effectively acted as that bear market that we were overdue. So what I would suggest to you is don't look too far forward on these. This is one problem that I think a lot of people get into, is they're trying to predict the future, and you can't predict the future. All you can do is kind of take this 1 week at a time and frame in the price action, understand what would have to happen for the price to reverse. So right now we still have a primary uptrend on the 78-minute chart. For that to reverse, it's going to have to put in a lower high, lower low combination, and that's going to drag down the daily chart as well too. But for right now, that reversal has occurred on the 78-minute chart. It's pulling up the daily chart. We'll see what happens next on the daily chart, whether or not it's able to put in a higher high, higher low combination, and it too also change polarity to the upside. Now, in the one more thing department is gold, or in this case, just GLD, which is the ETF of gold. And what I'm seeing here, and this is purely a technical read. This is purely a technical read. So I'm not going to go into the fundamentals, interest rates rising, those kind of things for gold. Doesn't matter right now. What I'm seeing is an ascending triangle pattern. This is an ascending triangle pattern with an upside target basically equal to the open end of this. So we probably have an upside target somewhere around 160 on GLD from this. If we do get a decent breakout, you can bet that if there is a breakout here around 130, there's going to be a little bit of a bar fight around that area. So there's probably going to be a false breakout and a fade of that move up there. More than likely, the overhead supply is going to exceed any attempt at a breakout based on the demand. It's going to get hauled back down in there. And when people give up on the ability for this to break out, that's usually when the breakouts occur. Usually the obvious moves are faded. So I've been watching this one for some time. We're in a very unique condition where we have the larger time frames just supercharged with energy right now. It doesn't really matter what the daily chart's doing, even though this is in a flag by itself. So this is a bullish pattern. Does that mean that it's going to break out to the upside for sure? No, but the probabilities do favor an upside breakout at some point on GLD. Hey folks, before you go, I want to talk to you for just a minute about the TheoTrade Live Return of the Trader event. Why are we calling it the Return of the Trader event? Well, because we believe, and we've already seen, volatility returning to the market as of February and March, and we think it will continue going into the rest of this year. So there's no better time than now to get prepped for all this volatility than at this event, because this is what we're going to be focusing on. So look at all these happy people from our last event. You can be one of them at the next event, which is coming up the beginning of May. So May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'll get into that in just a minute. Right now for members, the members are getting pricing of $1,100. So you've got until April 1st to get this price level. Otherwise, it's going to end up going up again. And also, don't forget that the event is limited to 200. So once we do sell the 200th ticket to this, we will shut down admissions to this event. All right, so where is it at? When is it going to happen? All those things. So it's going to occur at the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is where we were last September. It is a really, really nice place, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in just a minute. So who's this for? Intraday traders, swing traders, income traders. We've got something for everyone here. So again, on the 3rd of May, May 3rd, is where we have the event registration and the happy hour. So you can meet all of us live, can corner us in the room and ask us questions. And drinks are on TheoTrade, so don't forget that. We also have a quick event for you guys with Jeff and Don coming up. On Friday, May the 4th, this is when everything kicks in here. First session of the day will be Return of the Trader by Don Kaufman. And then we'll shift into Jeff Bierman. Professor Jeff Bierman will go into negotiating intraday volatility shifts, something that's very, very important in this type of volatility. The last session in the morning will be Perfecting Your Nasdaq and Intraday Trading Style by Tony Rago. And after lunch, I'll come on board with Fractal Analysis Intensive. So we're going to be talking about fractals in the context of what's happening in the market today. And then we'll go into Taming the Trend Day by Corey Rosenblum at the end of that day. So that is Friday, May 4th. So it's a market day. And then we will have the second day, Saturday, May 5th. And we're going to go right back into Don first thing in the morning. Probability and Profitability in Trading by Don. Price Action Intensive, again, by myself. So I'm going to be going into specifics of reading price action. Tony will go into more about intraday trading, the Nasdaq E-mini. Don Kaufman will go into the state of the markets. We'll talk to Corey for creating your game plan for the next trading day. And then we'll have all of us up front, closing ceremonies, final giveaways, and everybody is sent home at that point on Saturday evening. So you might be saying, well, that all sounds great, but what's in this for me? Well, we've got 9 reasons here as to why we think this is a good event for you. First of all, just hearing repetition, practice and repetition over the next 2 days as we conduct this seminar. You're going to hear the same things again and again, and pretty soon you'll start to think in the same way. Don't forget that almost all of us trade at home or in our office by ourselves, and many times we don't feel like we're connected. Well, this is where we can also show you that you're part of a bigger community. You're going to hear from others and understand what they're doing in today's market. And by doing that, you'll discover your one-of-a-kind style. This is where you form your own trading strategies. You're going to be talking to not only the instructors, but also other people in the room to gain their wisdom, get their approach from things. Understand how to risk manage in today's market, play it safe, and play it profitably. And make sure that you're not trading just out of boredom. We're not going to get boredom in this year's market, but making sure that you're looking for just the best setups and then being decisive about taking those setups. And then finally, ultimately, this is what we're all after, is that peace of mind and freedom that all of us are looking for through individual trading. Now, this is not some event where we just sit up at the front of the room and put a virtual wall in between you and us. You're going to meet all of us. You're going to talk to us at the breaks. We are here for you, to talk to you. So Don, Jeff Bierman, myself, Tony Rago, Corey Rosenblum, as well as your other 200 attendees. Now let's talk about the actual location, the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch. And I'm particularly excited to talk about this because there's some really cool things about this place. So it's pretty easy to get to. It's not that far from the airport. It's a world-class airport. You should be able to get direct flights in just about regardless of where you live. Let's talk about the venue for a second. This is what a typical room looks like, and I do want to mention, I mention this every time I talk about this event, but I love the chairs that they have here. The chairs have got armrests. You're not going to be sitting here playing elbow wars with a guy next to you. They recline, so you're going to be comfortable all day long. You're not going to be sitting on some little narrow, tiny banquet chair that's going to wear you out after 3 hours. The weather should be excellent at this time of year. There's all kinds of events and outdoor activities that they have at this particular ranch. Now let's talk about the meals as well too. This is where, again, I get excited about this because breakfast, this is not just any breakfast. This is a really, really good breakfast served on Friday and Saturday, as well as the lunch. So we bring in the lunch. We bring in the lunch here for you guys. Bring in the lunch. So both days we're going to serve you breakfast and lunch. For dinner, you're on your own because a lot of people want to go explore the area. But what we find is a lot of people get together as groups anyway and go out to eat for dinner. So anyway, get your ticket right now. Make sure you get it in before April 1st to be able to get that preferred pricing. Don't miss this event. This is a great time. There's a lot of terrific information that's brought out there. Everybody walked away with a smile on their face last time. We want you to be one of those people to join us as well too. Hope to see you out there. Take care.